Good evening, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 16th, 2019 meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. In the absence of Jim Gibberti, who's recovering from surgery, as co-chair, I'm going to chair this meeting tonight. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sandy Slavin.
Donna Bronk.
Peter Dunlop.
Malcolm White, present. First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from 18 April. And I think we have enough people here to do it.
I have reviewed the minutes, and I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented, the April 18th minutes.
At one point, they spelt my name wrong, and every time they...
No.
Well, they corrected my name.
This is one name at a time. So now it's Peter's name as well.
And I just have one correction. I don't even know if there was a motion that I stay on as co-chair. No, as co-chair, so.
So with those changes, I'd second it.
Well, what are we talking about as you co-chair
For the reorganization, I didn't see it mentioned.
Did you do a reorganization? I haven't never
We
seen
did.
it. Okay,
I believe we did. That's all I have.
okay.
A motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, accepting the minutes? As amended?
as
Aye.
amended?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Alrighty.
Okay, Peter, how should I spell Dunlap?
L-O-P.
Oh,
That's Scotch, not Irish.
Okay, item 4, sewer business. I don't see anything miscellaneous listed, Guy, for tonight?
No, there is,
No abatements, no blah, 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 nothing. And we can swing right into your report.
my report is just to update Swiss Beach. We hope to be done with that project by Wednesday of next week.
Really great.
So we hope to be done with the project by Wednesday of next week. We're wrapping up the grinding of the old product out of the pipe on Swiss Beach Road proper. We hope to have that completed by Saturday. It's been very slow. We're getting probably 50 feet a day. And then Monday and Tuesday, we will reline it, and that'll be that part done. We are at Merchant's Way. We came down Sawyer, second half of Sawyer last night, and we came right in front of the fire department. Then we picked up behind the fire department and went to, I believe, it was, I believe, Solami or the restaurant there. And so we'll continue on with Merchant's Way, and that should be wrapped up by Monday. At the end of Merchant's Way, we have some leakers. There's some big holes in the pipe, and joints are shot, and some leakers in the manholes. So tonight, we're going to grout everything, so that when we come to line, we'll be able to line.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. You had pictures of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of
A
leakers.
year ago?
Yes, September of last year is when we did that
Yeah.
tape. So there's a lot of leakers there, which would grab a lot of I&I. So we're pretty excited about that, and structural integrity, we can see the metal. But, so it's moving well. After a crazy start, it's been excellent from that point. So we're gonna wrap that up,
That's
so we're
great.
excited about it. And that should be before your Scallop Festival, or Oyster Festival, and plus the Memorial Day. So we're kinda excited about that.
how late did you work last night? I know I stopped
I
by
left
about 10.
I left at 12:30, 1:45. They worked a little bit later, because when I left, they had just shot the second liner, and they had cured the first part, and I didn't want to stay. We did 600 feet last night, so I'm getting just a little punchy, burning the candle at both ends. It's getting hotter and hotter. So, yeah, I left around 12:30. Narrows Crossing Lopes Field. They are 95% completed. At I gotta tell you this, it's actually Cohasset Narrows is the station, I believe, 'cause Narrows Crossing, I believe, it was actually Cohasset Narrows, and we put the bypass in there. And when we put the bypass, the only thing we have left to do is the coating to make it uniform, the parking lot, because when we put the bypass in, even though we have an easement, the owner of that property wasn't aware of the easement, but I spent about an hour with him. I presented him with the easement, went over it with him and his wife. Those are the folks, the McDermotts, that wanted us to buy them out. I think the board agreed to that quite some time ago. It got to the town, it stopped there. They really wanted to be bought out. Since that time, they've been kind of upset with us, but we explained to them that it's not, there's nothing we can do about it. I couldn't write them a check. So we're gonna wrap that up by coating the driveway, and that'll be done, because there's discoloration, they're not happy with it. The new asphalt's obviously better looking than the old asphalt. The structure we put in there, some of them are rusted, it's sewer covers, so we're gonna make that all uniform for them. At Lopes Field, we got the gating, that's all done, but we've got an issue with the sidewalk. We put in the sidewalk, a new sidewalk there, and we dropped it to meet the new ADA requirements, and it seems to gather with water. So we've got to address that. We've got to get the water out of there, so if somebody does come in a wheelchair, they don't have to float. So that's that. And then the field, on Heinz Field, that they staged, they're raking that out. We weren't quite happy with that, which is across from the pump station. They're going to finish raking that and seed it. And so that's what's going to be final things on the punch list, and that'll wrap those two projects up. Cranberry Highway, I talked today to Mr. Botello, who is the project manager for Landers. They're hoping to have the drainage in within 1 year. So the question is, can we use that road for our bypass? We're not sure. I'm going to meet Mr. Botello and talk about the actual timing so we can still pursue that, to see if we can utilize that road. We do have some time, so we'll pursue that. We're going to meet with Congressman Keating's office. We're looking for funding. They talked about the money being flooded by the bill that's about to be signed for infrastructure, and they're also going to help us with the state to see if we can figure out if we can utilize that road. So we'll go down there and get that all straightened out. So Cranberry Highway isn't dead, but we'd like to piggyback this project to save us some money. So we'll see how that works out. It's been touchy. Minot Forest School, well, as you all know, that school's offline. We've been charging them as a school. So what I'm recommending for that particular is to effective immediately drop it to 1 EDU until they demolish it. When it's demolished, because they're still doing things in there, when it's totally demolished, we can put the account on hold until they build, get a permit to occupy, then we'll go back on to a school. So instead of charging them, I believe it's 20, 30, 40 EDUs, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'd like to stop that now, if it's okay with the board. Put it on.
Water's still on.
Water's still on, so that the policy states, so while the water's on, I want to drop it to 1 EDU, because they're not using the classrooms, and I think that would be fair and equitable. And then when they get the water off, when they totally demolish it, at that point in time, we'll put it on hold. And that's what we'll do at the Minot School, if that's okay with the board.
It's not used for anything, meetings or anything else?
Nothing. There was a time they were doing, the police were doing some things in there. They were doing drills and all that, but all that has ceased, and very shortly, I'm told, very shortly, they'll demolish it totally. So I just wanted to be fair. I'm not going in there any longer. So that's why I'm with that. And that concludes my report.
Very good.
Do we have to vote on that, Minot Forest?
I would appreciate that if the board could do a formal vote, so I can officially do that. I'd appreciate it.
I make a motion that we reduce the EDU at the Minot Forest School to 1 EDU, effective February 2019.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that we change the billing for Minot Forest School to 1 EDU. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Sorry.
Ellis, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, if you may, I forgot C Street. I don't know.
We'll back up.
If you want me, I can wait till another
That's
meeting.
fine.
But C Street, we have the DCAM certification to move forward on that. We picked out through the emergency procurement, whatever we did, we've got contractors. I sent that over to Mr. Bailey today. He can get to it when he does. We want to expedite that. Nothing will happen until I get their schedule and what we're looking for. They're looking for a PO based upon and just sign their proposal, and we'll figure out what that is. But
Guy, what are you doing down there, exploratory, or?
well, it's in phases. DCAM allowed us 3 phases. The first phase is to evaluate. So what they did is they approved the letter from Bader. Bader sent a letter and said, we got to evaluate.
Yep.
So we know that the manhole at C Street is compromised. It's sunk 18 inches, that we know, and it's dragged some pipes down, so that's a gimme. We also found when we did some cammering that when we come out of Ross Road, we go to the next manhole, and then that pipe disappears. So we believe that the one that's in the corner has sunk. So it doesn't make sense to fix C Street and then have more issues. So the thing is, we're going to put, and I've never done it, but they're going to put a silt barrier right across from Cottage Street to C Street and keep the water away. So there'll be no more water in there. And then we're going to rip everything up, and it's a bad word, but we're going to dig everything up, inspect everything thoroughly, make an evaluation, and then a recommendation as to what we're doing for repair. Once we get to that point, we'll go to another emergency bid to find out what the repair cost is. What we're quoted now is just for that first phase, which is the evaluation. Once we get to the second phase, knowing what we should do, we'll figure that out. I've talked to Mr. Pichette at the Concom. He'll be involved in the construction meetings, and everything will be laid out. We're going to put mats down. We're going to be very as careful as we can. Whatever has to be done will be done as we move forward. It'll slow us down, but it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
So he'll be totally involved, and his direction will be greatly appreciated as we do this. Marine Fisheries is involved. Of course, Mass DEP is involved, and of course, DCAM, state organizations. We are doing fecal testing on the beach, because the concern always is when you drop pipes down, are they leaking? Fecal tests have met every requirement. We'll wait for the next set to come back, but there's no indication. They're less than 100 parts per million per 100 mils, and less than 100 colonies per 100 mils, and I think we're averaging 20 to 30, so the numbers are fantastic. So we're excited about that. What it tells us that we don't have much leaking. That's what we're getting for testing, and we're testing through the recommendation of Marine Fisheries when the tide is going out, with the theory that it's going to pull out of the system if it is. Our first set of tests were at high tide, and that's really not a true representation of what may be happening. So we've done tests every week, and so we'll continue through the entire project. We'll continue until it's done as we can get the water. So we're pretty confident that right now we're not as crazy as it could be. So we're going to keep moving forward, doing testing and whatever we have to do to get this done. So that's where we are with C Street. Preliminary, we believe it's going to be best to repair in place because the alternative costs are horrendous. One of my biggest problems right now is staging. Where do I put trailers? Where do I put trucks? Where do I put equipment? There is no room in Pinehurst. There is no room to move. The streets are narrow. You put a truck in the street, that street is virtually closed. So we have to figure out staging. That's going to be a huge task for us. How do we stage this equipment? So I'm trying to figure that out. But that's, for me, logistically, that'd be my biggest problem. So that's where we are.
Yep.
And I'll update the board at the next meeting.
May I ask, you said there were three steps. One was the evaluation, which you have a letter from Beta.
That's,
Okay, then what's 2?
Oh, I'm sorry. So what the letter says, I thought I sent you off the letter. I
Yeah,
apologize.
just,
So the first part says to evaluate. Second part says to develop a plan, and that's where the engineering comes in. Third part is to repair. So those are 3 stages. So we're going to evaluate, sit down, and develop a plan.
Okay.
The options were, I think if you remember, was to take it off the beach, repair it on the beach, to do low pressure systems, all kinds of options we're looking at. As we continue to move through, we had the company come down E1 and walk the entire neighborhood with us, trying to figure out, should we do everything with low pressure? And logistics is going to be very complicated and very costly, probably around $4 million.
So You're planning to put in silt fences to reduce the water that comes up as the tide comes in?
Yeah, they actually call it
And your
a
silt fence will really
Yeah,
really hold the water back?
Again, I haven't seen, it's called silt fence dams. I've never used it, that's what they
Okay.
are. It's got aluminum structure, and it goes across,
so-
so it'll stop the water from coming in to
Your
where we're working.
evaluation of the 7 manholes, 7, right,
7 manholes.
will indicate what happens next. I mean, you're
Yes.
saying that they've dropped. If they've dropped, have they come disconnected from the manholes? If your pipes,
So that's the thing, so you've
That's-
got the ductile line pipe, it drops. There's a joint here.
Yeah.
There's a separation, so to answer your
It
question.
has to
We
leak.
don't know. Well, we can assume, we can say anything we want, but I have no valid proof of that.
Because
We
you're
can make some
testing.
assumptions, but the testing, that's why we're testing for fecal. Even if we got a fecal hit, it could be a bird, it could be geese.
Okay.
But we're doing that as due diligence, so we don't know.
we have funding for the beta report,
We have, at town meeting, we were funded $600,000 to move forward, so
so we have 600K for the C Street project, and that included the review by beta.
it includes everything, yes.
How can we don't have a plan or a fix that we know it's gonna be 600,000?
We have no idea. It could be 600 million, I'm just exaggerating.
so
we don't know
that's
until
our
we
best
figure it out.
estimate right now.
Absolutely, because we're working with the facts of just C Street manhole in trouble. If they're all in trouble, because we've got to do some borings, we got to actually, once we get everything exposed, we got to shoot
You
all
need
the
all
elevations.
7.
All 7 elevations have to be shot, because it's a gravity system. If it's all reversed, then we got a problem. We know that C Street's reversed, so we don't know.
So your repair right now looks a possibility of digging everything up.
Our evaluation means we got to dig everything up and look at it. Our repairs, we don't know.
So it isn't just lining or anything like that. We physically have to, how deep are these pipes?
The manholes are down approximately 3 to 4 feet, some are 2 to 4 feet, I should say. The pipes are down 7 feet is the deepest on the beach, so it'd probably be 6 to 7 feet depth of the invert elevations. So that's where we'll have to, and we'll shoot those grades, because we have the original elevations, so we'll shoot them and see where we are.
You're gonna have to dewater. There is no way you can dig and keep, and not water fill in the holes you dig, correct?
One of the things, when we actually dig to the pipes, we'll talk about dewatering, but right now, it's just exposing the covers to get in there to camera and to shoot invert
Okay,
elevations.
and that's part of the
That's the-
evaluation
yes,
component
ma'am.
that you're looking at?
Yes, ma'am.
Until you've cambered everything,
We
we
don't
don't
know.
have a plan yet.
We know
Okay, so
only
I'm
about
just-
C Street, the rest we don't know about.
Of the 7, when you say the rest, you're talking the 7 in the cove.
Yeah, everything on the
Okay,
cove.
thank you.
Everything from that whole Pinehurst goes to the cove. Every drop of sewer goes to the cove, then to the pump station. Every drop of sewer.
Thank you.
That's it, I apologize I should have done that in my report, so thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the consideration.
I'm just curious, before we drop it, do you expect an increase in flow with summer coming down there?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so we got to make some decisions, we're talking, because it's going to be disruptive to the summer. Again, any equipment in there is going to stop traffic. So as we work, it could get pretty hairy, and we've got Memorial Day. So there's 2 factors. One is the risk of not doing it immediately. We could say, let's wait till after the summer. If something to happen, it's going to be catastrophic, so we've got to move forward. And I'm going to try at the same time, try to be less, the impact to neighbors, but that's going to be difficult because of the logistics of that area. It is so tight. Heck, a car parked in the middle of the road shuts the road down, let alone trucks. So that's going to be my issue. So I've got to start staging, I've got to bring equipment in and all that good stuff. So it's going to be an interesting, just bringing in what they call a silt. It's really, it's a dam for black, but just bringing that part of it in is going to be crazy. And so that's
Yeah.
going to block everything down. So I will talk to the police department that, we may want to put an ambulance out there on the other side of our work. We want to put a cruiser. I don't know.
Yep.
So we'll figure all that out as we vet through this.
Mr. Chairman, see, I thought we weren't gonna be doing anything down in the beach areas during the summer.
Well, I would like to agree with you, but when we have manholes sunk and the possibility of contaminating the bay, the Wareham River with sewer, I would think that the urgency changes. I don't like doing things down the bay, so
I
that's...
agree with you 100%, but how long have we known that?
Once we found out, I want to say end of April, mid-April, we moved forward from that point to try to satisfy what to get it done, and so we
Okay.
haven't stopped yet since we
So
found
this
out.
is the first I've heard of it, and I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
So I'm
So,
like, I thought we weren't gonna do anything now.
yeah, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Like in Onset Beach, at Point Independence, we have all these manholes under the beach that we need to look at. That will defer to fall because we cambered it, we see nothing that jumps out at us. We
Right.
know that manhole sunk 8 inches, but we don't see any evidence that we really got to get overexcited about it. So we'll come back at that in the fall, find out why it sunk 8 inches, and then we'll make a determination at that point. So that's one we won't touch until the summer's over.
From this situation, we only realized the end of April.
Yes, we cambered it. We were doing some camering off of Wash Street and then
Right.
off of C Street, and we found that to the ends of those pipes, they're full of water. We couldn't go any further. And then we dug up the manhole, found out that it sunk 18 inches. So that was immediate. And then everything's tied to it, so it makes sense to look at
Okay.
everything.
Thank you.
Donna,
So-
we first talked about it in the April 18th minutes.
Okay, I was on vacation.
So last thing,
Okay.
do you have target dates to start and finish the first phase?
We'd like to start the first phase by the end of next week. That's our goal. And that's expediting paperwork, whatever.
Yeah.
That's all beyond me.
What's the
but
duration? A
We
week or two?
don't know. We think that it's going to be about a 3-week period to
Three,
get it all
okay.
exposed, because we have to bore. We know we have to bore C Street because that's sunk, so before to facilitate a repair, we have to know why it does. So we'll bore it, see what the materials are like, and then make a decision how to stabilize it, and then bore it and bring the pipes up. But if we don't stabilize it, that's going to be, for naught. So
Yep.
those are the kind of things we'll be looking at doing.
Do what you have to do. It's
Yeah, it's
it's
been-
work in progress, literally, so.
We've got 4 or 5 projects running, and they all become critical, so it's been, and this one here has been the biggest nightmare because
yeah.
it has
Well,
the
you might
most
hear a little
impact.
bleeping, so.
No, I'm going to, I'm already hearing it. I've got 4 projects, I'm getting hammered every single day, all day,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
We have to do what we have to do, and I don't criticize or lack of understanding folks. It's their life, and I get it all. And so hammer away, I'll answer the best I can, and I'll move
You're
forward.
the right guy,
We'll
believe
just
me.
get it done.
Patience.
Yep.
All right,
Absolutely.
we're good to move on to Ellis now?
I brought with me and passed out an update for our budget for the year. So we're through 10 months at this point. We've got 2 months left of the fiscal year. First page is the full budget, the amount spent and the amount left. Simple. Basically, we've spent 78% of our budget, and we're 83% through the year. Below the operating expenses total is a list of outstandings and an estimate for the remaining 2 months. So I added back 18,000 for the electrical contract we went into. I took off 27.5 for invoices for the prior month that I may or may not have seen yet. That one's not a hard estimate. It's just a placeholder. We ordered 3 RAS pumps. That contract's going out. We purchased one earlier on an emergency basis. We saved $3,000 each by getting them with this 15 or 20 week lead time. The one that we took out was completely beaten up. The impeller was mostly gone, so it makes sense to do the 4, and for us to make permit. Guy says we definitely need them. And the last one, the 370, is roughly what we might spend over the next 2 months, based on the first 10 months of spending.
If I may, real quick, RAS means return activated sludge. And that's the sludge, the biological we return. So it's return activated sludge. And I know that acronyms is a pet peeve of the board, so return activated sludge.
The next one shows 83% of the budget in the budget column, but other than that, it's basically the same spending, over under budget. Back to the first page, I guess I'm predicting we have 40,000 or so left in our budget. There might be some room here or there for movement, but we'll see next month where it ends up. Page 3, same thing, wages, full year budget and spent to date. And we've spent about 69% of our budget, of 83% through the year. So we're in good shape there. We could probably do a little more there. The next one, similarly, 83% of the budget, less what's spent, and you can see we've spent about only 83% of what we should have spent to date. So, so wages are low for the year still.
I'd like to point out.
We've hired a
wage-
couple
I'm
of
sorry,
new
go ahead.
people.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We budgeted for staff we don't have yet. So that money's budgeted, we didn't have staff to do
Right.
it. So as we staff, that number will come more in line.
We've also promoted 2 people. We haven't replaced the foreman yet, but
And the
I
pe-
hired a lab tech from within and a
Free treatment from within.
Feel about that, yeah.
So
coordinator.
those 2
So-
positions have to be filled that they came out of, and so we probably have 4 positions still that we have to fill. So the budget's been nice because we don't have the staff. We budget at the beginning of the year for our projected staff, and we just don't have the staff, so that's why that's low.
I think they have it. You have not replaced the foreman yet.
No, the foreman has not been replaced yet. We're advertising. That's a tough position to find. Yes, Steve left, our maintenance foreman is gone, so, yeah, it's just, so, it's an industry issue. The retirement in the field is incredible. We have no operators, and this is just not in Massachusetts, this country, but Massachusetts is in really trouble, and we're all stealing from each other by offering another $1. So it's really a vicious world out there for operators. You just can't get them, and when you do have one, someone will say, I'll give you a job for $1 more, and money becomes the loyalty, and people will leave. So it's a very volatile market right now for operators, and the state is trying to figure out some way. The tests are very difficult. They have a 40% pass rate, 60% fail rate, so more people fail than pass, so we can't get enough operators soon enough. We have a young man starting next month. He's from Upper Cape High School, and he was able to get a grade 4 operator's license coming out of high school. We're excited about that. So we're trying to work that program. We're working with Bristol Community College. They have a wastewater program there that people come out with licensed operators. So we're working with those. So we're trying to get the young folks coming up, get them excited about wastewater, and draw from that pool. So that's how we're trying to get operators.
Last page is capital and reserve funds. We haven't used any of our reserve funds yet. We may dip in. As I said, it's pretty close. There's a couple of things we'd like to buy before the end of the year. More out of need than an urgency to spend our budget. I can tell you about a couple of those. Outstanding from my capital budget, I've got the 6-inch trash pump that came the other day. That's gone through the system, but it hasn't hit the accounting. They've gotten a check, but it hasn't gone through the accounting system yet. There's a generator that guy's approving the specs on now. That'll be about $500,000. And then the $600,000 for C Street.
500,000 or 50,000?
50,000.
50,000. The next 2, I'm sorry, next year's are 500,000, 250 each.
We'd just like to get your heart rate up, that's all, so. Before we go on, I want to say that we got that trash pump. I want to thank Ellis for his effort there. It works. We used it last weekend. I got to tell you, it was a godsend. It was a lifesaver. It worked really well, so.
On a trailer?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a trailer trash pump.
Quiet. They're usually quiet.
It's quiet, absolutely, it's quiet, and the feature that we like the most is that when the flow goes away, the pump winds down, waits, when the flow comes back up.
That's good.
It picks up and it goes, it senses it because of the system that primes. It's really an excellent pump, it's doing a great job.
The foreman, Brian, indulged many, many questions for me on what was the best pump and what were the best features, and block heaters and trickle chargers and whatnot, so you can just back up to it and take it in the middle of the winter and it's going to run. That's what we were looking for. So he did a good job helping us pick out, and Guy, of course, gave us some oversight on that.
Yeah.
So we've got probably 130 or so that will roll from capital into retained earnings, and that's fine. We rebid a roof this week. The first time we bid it, there were a couple of misunderstandings, and we had a bidder that wasn't particularly qualified, but not unqualified enough to, basically he wasn't qualified because he the bids went over 150,000, and over 150,000, you're required to have DCAM certification, and DCAM is the Division of Asset Management and Maintenance. So they certify contractors and give them report cards and for some compliance and specs. So rather than try to fight it out with what we had, we rebid it, and it came out that the roof was 188,000. I did something a bit different. The old bid, the lowest legitimate bid, which was the second bidder, was 209 last time. This time I put it on something called Combis. It's a state website, and they allow you to pick out every roofer in the state, and it takes not much time, and I sent out 300 emails. So instead of 2 qualified bidders, we got like 5, and we saved 20,000 off the last bid. And this time, this low bidder from Springfield was almost 40,000 less than the next qualified bidder. He was at 225, an outfit called Gibson from Halifax.
Really?
So
Is this for all 3 roofs?
4 roofs,
4?
2 septic
Oh, yeah.
buildings,
Yeah.
a garage, and the watering building. Yeah,
And we approved what for capital?
215.
Okay, so we're right there.
Yeah.
Yep, and that'll come out of retained earnings, and it was on the warrant for the special. There's a lot of other procurement going on. I mentioned the RAS pumps, guys looking to buy to replace some grinders to prevent ragging. They've just come to the end of life. We're working on the C Street, getting contracts for them, and starting procurement for next year's capital was manholes, manhole lining, the 2 water-cooled generator, replacing the 2 water-cooled generators and rebuilding the pump stations. We're going to get going on that stuff. So there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and we're trying to keep up with it.
So what little I know, as a layperson, this would appear to reflect good management,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, well, we're,
Financial, I'm a financial person, yes, it does, very good.
So commendation?
Absolutely. Kudos.
Yeah. I'm good with that. You good with that? I'm good with that. The numbers, the percentages. With 2 months left,
Right.
real good.
yeah, well, we're trying to keep within budget and get our money, get the people's, the ratepayers' money's worth out of everything we do is really
Yeah.
what. And the less we spend for things and the better we do it, the more stuff we can do. So we can fix the system up here and here and here instead of just over here. So that's really the goal, is to get the best system we can with the money we have.
Good news.
A question. Signing the warrants tend to happen on a Monday afternoon. When will you be having the warrant signed for Memorial Day weekend?
Is that next weekend?
Yes, on Monday is Memorial Day, so I was just wondering.
I have to have them in Tuesday at 10, so you could come by then, or I can.
I can't. So I'm letting the board know I cannot be here for the 27th or June 3rd.
I would suggest to you that there's a memo put out by the accounting office asking for earlier. I would review that
Yeah,
memo.
I'll try to get them for Friday.
I think it
Next
is Friday. I think it's Friday or Thursday. We got the memo, so.
24th?
I believe so. So you need to check with them before you make a decision, because they did put out a memo addressing that very issue.
If need be, I can ask Jim if I can drive him over to him. I don't know if he's up for company or
So,
not, but,
Just make note that I will not be here for the 3rd.
okay. Would you be around Friday before that, or no?
The 24th I will be here,
Okay,
but not the Friday before the 3rd.
all right.
Did that make sense? No, I'll be here for the 24th of May.
All right,
That's next week. Yeah, next Friday.
What's happening?
16.
Not by itself, it's no meeting the 24th.
Yeah, the next meeting is June 6th.
so the
At
27th.
I'm just signing the warrant.
Yeah.
This is the bill.
I'm just trying to
warrant for the
make
bills.
arrangements to sign the warrant.
Yeah.
So
To
the
approve the
27th
payments.
is Memorial Day, and we can get them signed on the 24th.
Yep.
Yeah, the memo, I believe the memo states 24th, 25th, so they've already put that out about a week ago, so you were gonna have to do it then anyways.
I'll have to get on the memo list.
Yeah, go
Good.
to Judy, have her get you on the list, because she sent that, she sent all the
Anything
problems.
else?
The only other thing, with the work being done on Onset Ave, does it impact our sewer lines at all? Can we bounce
Onset
off?
Ave? Onset Ave,
Yes.
where they're grinding. Here's what's gonna bother us, they grind up the roads, the end there and now, there's no sewer. When they get to around Bay Point Country Club, Lacasse gas station,
Yeah.
then if they're gonna continue on, then then it affects us, because manholes are taken apart, they're taken out, and usually what happens when they rip them out, all the debris goes inside the manhole, we gotta go dig them up, so at that point, we'll be involved, but before that point, there's no issues.
Okay. As long as you're aware of what they're
Yeah,
doing, so you can
absolutely.
be on top of the Onset Ave.
When they get to that point, we'll become anal, and we'll be very diligent on making sure.
Okay, moving on. Unfinished business. Guy, do you have any comment on items 1 through 4? Anything additional at this point?
Just some pumps again. The rain has been, as you all know, and we're really wet. And Saturday into Sunday, we had 7 hours of nonstop 5.3 MGD, and we're designed for 1 hour peak at that flow. It was horrendous. The basin's 3/4 full. And so if we get more rain, the basins are going to be full. So I'm going to plead, beg people with sump pumps, please put them off, do something, because we're taking it, we can't handle it. It actually overwhelmed the back end of the plant. We just can't take it, so I am
Well, the
begging.
basins are full.
The basins are 3/4 full,
Is that
absolutely.
why we had the little bit of
Well, the
email
ba-
traffic,
Yes, the basins are,
or whatever it was?
and there's nothing I can do about it. They're just
Can we do about it?
nothing.
Okay.
I'm just asking people to, see, some pumps,
2 adds up now.
some pumps are capacity that's not designed. We don't design for, so when you put your sump pump on, that takes away sewer flow. And you fill up the pipes, you fill up the basins, and
But
it
there's
just,
no way we can identify these people that have these sump pumps?
I don't think identification is, we'll get into that later,
We're
but
back to the issue, where are we with getting our bylaws up stronger so we can go out and find them and stop them? But that's on Jimmy's plate.
that's right.
And
we'll
he's
wait for,
supposed to talk to the town council.
Correct.
So we'll
Along
wait
with
till that,
the hookups, and
Hookups, yeah.
so those two are on hold until Jimmy returns.
so at this point, I'm just pleading with the public. If you have a sump pump, it's coming to us, and we can't handle it. It's
Okay, Mary,
becoming a
please make
major.
note of that. I'm writing it. Thank you.
We really need your help. I'm begging, I truly am, because anytime we have an SSO, our sand filters are overwhelmed, the sewer comes out of them, and it goes on the ground. And I have to
And that's
call
where
the
the smell,
DEP.
that's why this weekend we had the,
Why is it on Jimmy's plate? I thought it was back
Jimmy was going to do some research
So-
and work with the,
outside of the meeting.
legal, and it's a...
do
it's
we know,
something-
sorry.
It's something that the selectmen say that they okay at some point, that now we can't enforce the policy the way it's written. It's an opening between us and the selectmen, that it appears that they said something at one point that we can now not enforce the sump pump policy. I think we should get our liaison, who is now the chairman, in here and address the problem.
Because I thought Jimmy was going to work with the town council to find out why we have holes, why they, yeah,
And
he
that is
hasn't done,
exactly what I just said.
yeah, and Jimmy hasn't done it yet.
No, that's what he found out. What I just stated.
Oh, because he never reported back to us. We don't, how do we fix it?
We get the selectmen here and find out if that in fact is the problem.
Okay, then we ask our liaison to appear.
And he happens to be chairman of the board, so let's get the answer. And while we're at it, why not invite council at the same time? Let's get it done.
I agree with you, because it's a legal issue, and I
Get
think
it done.
council needs to be involved.
Okay,
No, I
I mean,
mean,
but it's-
we'll
That's
kick
fine.
it back and forth. Let's invite council and liaison to the next meeting.
well,
Well, pending what's up with Jimmy.
He'll be here by then.
I respectively
We'll give it
request
a-
that it wait until I return.
I'd like to give it another week. Is a week ample notice for them?
Again, I'll be very frank, the rain kills us, so I'm not looking for a miracle. Alls I brought it up for is I want to plead to the public, because everybody knows who they are. There's no offense, you know who you are. And if you have a sump pump tied into the sewer, forget all the other enforcement, just as a reasonable person, please get your sump pumps out of the sewer. It's illegal at all levels of government, and I'm pleading with the public to help us out. Please help us until we figure this out, because the plant is getting hammered, especially with the water table the way it is and the rain we're getting. We just can't handle it. So I'm asking for the public to please, you know who you are. Do the right thing. That's what I'm asking.
Well, looking at it from another angle, Peter, I guess we could invite them. We can always cancel if we don't have all the board here. So we could put it in the works, anticipating that Jim will be here.
Okay, Stone
I
Path
think-
is.
I think begging the public to do what you're asking, while I totally understand where you're coming from, if my playroom was filling up with water, I'm not gonna think about the rest of you people. I'm gonna pump out my playroom.
And that's your
the way
integrity.
these
That's
people
right.
look at
That's
it.
right, and it's their integrity, I'm not challenging that. But, some
That's
of
the way
us,
they look at it.
we know right from wrong, and so some of us will do the right things and some of us won't. And those, if I can grab a percent that does the right thing, I'm happy.
You can just take it out, you don't need to pump it in the sewer, pump it in your backyard. Pump it out there, you don't have to put
You
it in the sewer.
don't, it's just all kinds of, but anyways.
Okay?
For the meeting, can we ask for 6:20? June 20th?
You fine with that? The
What?
20th? June 20th.
To invite Patrick and council.
I'm fine, as sooner the better, but,
Well, I just requested I would like to be here for that meeting.
okay,
Oh, yeah, okay. I can buy into that, yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
But let's start telling them now so that they have the answers, and we're not just kicking this around
Okay.
with more people. So let's tell both council and liaison, we want answers on the 20th.
For both of the outstanding items, the how to connect, force people to connect, and force people to disconnect from their,
Offline conversations.
correct? Those two
Yeah,
topics.
I am too. Rich has the same.
Yeah, I mean,
Malcolm, is it something you can put in an email to the two,
They did a
Patrick
fine
and
program.
council?
It's
I'll speak to Jimmy and have him
bottom line.
mail
something?
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's in communications, it's not like he's,
right.
So I'll speak to Jimmy. I was gonna go down and visit anyway. I'll tell him exactly what we want, and we want the answers for June 20th. Is that what we're settling on?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. The rainy season will be over, but,
But we'll get ready for the next one.
yeah, right.
right, because it's
We've
gonna
got to
happen.
stop kicking it down the road.
You're right. And I'll tell you, we're entering the hurricane season. So that means high seas. We're talking about more rain coming through. If you look at the weather pattern, they're talking about more rain in our area. It's not going away. It's not going away. It's only going to get worse and worse. So we need to address it. I agree with you, 100%. Stone Path, they should have that report wrapped up within a week. That's the goal. That's the end of their contract. GHD has that contract. They've done everything. The last thing they're doing is the pump station the specs. They're doing the wet well, and they've got all the numbers, and we know that we're marginal at best, and they'll get that done for us, and when that's done, we'll present it to the board.
So we expect that to be ready for the 6/3 meeting?
That's my goal. They've got to wrap it up. The contract ends next week, the 15th or whatever. No, I'm sorry, the 20th, it ends next week. So they have to have all the deliverables to us by then. And so at that point, we can review it. Whenever you want to set up a meeting, that's fine with me. Have time to review it, digest it, have a meeting, whatever the board's pleasure is what we'll do. Homes not connected to sewer, you have your list. It's in the back of it's in the package. I also gave you a letter from a young lady. She's 77 years old and she just can't afford it, but I want you to see that's just an example. It should be in your packet, and maybe it's not, but it should be.
If we're going to discuss sump pumps in a few weeks, why don't we just discuss item 3 in a few weeks?
We could do that too.
Home's not connected to town sewer.
I know that's Sandy's pet. It'd probably be a good time. I don't think we're asking too much to address both items with legal. and
No.
we- And Patrick.
Yeah, so,
All right, so let's include that, because we're,
well, that's part of it, is that we sump pump and hookups are the two things we want to discuss with legal.
I mean,
The 20th.
we have new information to discuss with them too, right? The registered letters went out. You didn't get them all back. Some came back
No,
on
we've
some.
got the numbers. Let me see, is that the right one? That's 418. This one is May 16th. 77 mailed out, 33 received, 19 unclaimed, undeliverable, unknown, 12 UPS, USPS, United States Postal Service,
Well, I
3 times.
think we need to discuss it with them.
Yep,
And
7
then,
vacant
and then
lots
the
for-
hardship issue. I don't know.
So,
I don't know what the avenue is for that.
I included my answer to the young lady, just so you understand. That's pretty much what I'm telling her, is I stated the facts based upon the regulations, and that there's assistance available. Go to Cedar and try to figure it out, but.
Could you address that a little bit more?
I'm sorry?
What is available from CEDA?
Loans they'll fund it for you and do a 20-year mortgage or 20-year loan to put the sewer in. So whatever that cost is, they'll pay it, and they'll finance it for you at a very low rate for an extended period of time. That's one of the options.
There's a second option that I started looking into.
Can you get more information on that, or do we want to invite CEDA to this
I would-
meeting on the 20th?
whatever you would like.
So that everything is out there.
Whatever you would
We
like.
really get the answers.
Looking for financial options for
Well,
those.
so
yeah.
that we're able to tell these people what's available.
It would be nice to have
Can we
them
get
here.
enough information, or do you want to invite CEDA?
Well, it's first information, but whatever you feel. If you want us to gather, we can
Yeah.
gather and interpret it, or we can have them here.
Ellis,
and-
you've been
and
looking at
limit
it.
the interpretation.
Yeah, I've collected a
Do
good
you feel
start on it.
comfortable enough to speak to the,
Yep.
do you feel
I can-
comfortable
I
enough
can
to speak
prepare
to
for
that?
The second program is a 15-year loan that if you keep your house for 15 years, they write it off. There's no payments.
So are you comfortable enough to give all the particulars?
Yep, I will,
Yeah. All
I
right,
will
fine.
refresh myself on those, and I'll invite Peter Sanborn anyway, but,
You can.
All right.
But you know what, if you find enough good information, you could have a packet, not that everybody wants to
And they
read.
can read it and do their
And you
thing.
can say, listen, try working with this. Any questions, give us a call down here.
that's
It's
what we'd
70s.
like to do.
You'll
first.
probably know
77
more about it.
And 80 years old, 15 years may not be an option. It may be. I would
Well, for
like to get an option, but,
offsprings.
Yeah,
but
but
the
when
young
they
kids
sell the
would do it.
house, then there's money available.
yeah, so.
Exactly. Can we legally put a lien?
Well, they will. That's how it works.
Okay,
If you
that's
have
fine.
the right income requirements, you get a 15-year loan with
Mm-hmm.
no payments. If you don't sell the house if you stay in there for 15 years and a day, the loan goes away. So you paid nothing for it. They just don't want you fixing up your house and then selling it 2 years later and making a profit off the taxpayers' money. That's all.
It's worth looking into. It gives them an option.
Okay.
If that's something you have time for, Ellis, you could take that off a guy's plate and kind of steward that kind of guy.
It's something we
Because that-
started.
the
and we'll
numbers,
just,
that's your thing.
We'll just get it going. There's been a lot going on between
Yeah.
the projects and.
Maybe you could even get enough information that Mary could put it in the paper,
Yeah,
so these people know what's available to them.
Pretty good idea.
Could you do that?
I think so, yeah.
want to.
All right, terrific.
A lot clearer for everybody.
All right, so we'll handle all of that on the 20th then?
We can.
Great.
I had no idea that that program was available.
No.
Right, I didn't either until I walked into CETA and talked to Peter Sanborn, and he's got a terrific amount of information. And they may not be able to help everybody all at once, but they might be able to help 3 or 4 a month, in
Better
addition
than
to their
none.
regular workload.
This particular lady that we're speaking of, it sounds like it would be ideal.
Yeah.
So do we have to take any action on this at this time then, Guy? Can we let this go to the 20th?
That's
too?
for your information only. It's because as we get these letters in and the phone calls, I just want to share, and I gave you the letter we sent back because we're trying to help people. We're trying to,
Yep.
there are
Maybe
people
we
that.
ought to invite Mary Was it Mary?
Was it Mary?
No, Catherine.
Catherine.
Catherine Ahern.
And some of these folks would love to come to the meeting, explain their hardship. One lady did.
I'm sure there's lots of people in her boat.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
That's fine. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
But I am concerned about 19 unclaimed, undeliverable, unknown, 17, 3 attempts, and no one wanted to sign.
Well, that's.
I mean, they must have tax bills,
Did you ever get a registered letter that you refused to accept? Or you ever get a letter that you refused
because
to
I
accept?
know what's in it and I don't want it, yeah, but,
So that's a number. That's a reality. So 19 people said, yeah.
but the
right.
option after that is a constable delivering.
Yeah, that's,
And we're not there yet,
I was
but
going
it's
to
an
put
option.
Publishers Clearinghouse as the return address and see how that worked out.
at the very least, they'll open it.
You know what, Sandy? Have all your questions, you're good at it. Have them ready for that evening for legal.
I most certainly will put a bullet plate together for it.
Thank
I'm
you.
very good at asking
appreciate that.
questions.
Let's air it out.
And that's it. EDU, I don't know. I've reached out to Mike a couple times. He's probably just burnt with it. And his budget's expended anyways, and I don't think we want to move forward with another budget for him anyway. So we got to look at.
Well, I'm looking at your numbers, Guy, and the EDU rate, the way it's been set up,
think we
really
just-
can't be that far off.
I think we should continue on and then figure out where we want to go from here, but.
Well, I think, and you're working on the commercial industrial. That's really what's in question now, and always, I
And when we
think.
get that going, and we'll solidify those numbers, and then we can revisit and see what you want to do. Because there's a lot of things out there with the industrial and the commercial businesses. There's a lot of, I believe there's more inequity there than there is in the residents. to
Oh,
be
yeah,
frank
like
with you.
Midas.
To be frank with you.
Brings up a
ways.
question. When we approve the increase in the EDU rate, we put in our motion an X% of the increase would be set aside for capital, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, it was-
Just to making sure that,
Capital?
yes.
I believe so.
Yeah, you wanted to go to.
That was my pet
I
peeve.
thought,
So my capital budget went from 950,000 to 1,115,000. So I don't know if that hit the percentage, but it did go up a good bit.
It was
But not-
roughly about $100,000, so you're probably well within the number.
is
Okay.
capital the same as
So
repair?
it
Yes,
probably
that's
went up.
absolutely
Yes.
right. That's what you wanted, yes.
Yeah,
And the unforeseen, right, came out for
So that was your
C-Street.
request.
The
so we're
unforeseen,
trying-
I think, went from 218 to 250.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get it in there, so, because that was your point, and you made a good point,
Yes.
so we're trying to work that in.
So now that you're on board, right? When, say we annually or semi-annually review our rate structure for what we charge,
Yep.
you can be tracking inflation
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything else, even down to the tariffs maybe, if they're gonna be for some length of
I
time.
got my first bid with a tariff adjustment on it today.
Did you?
So,
$17, yeah.
not to give you more work, but it wouldn't take you much to put your finger on where we're going rate-wise. Maybe once or twice a year, I don't know.
No, I agree, because
The trend, what I'm looking for is the trending.
Yep.
So
Every
we can
rate
stay
is-
ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to
But we
talk
don't-
about increases,
Yeah,
but
but
I
we-
want to do it,
I
if we
don't-
have to increase, we always talked about being somewhat forgiving, small increases rather than,
Exactly.
so if
And
you
that's
have Ellis tracking, you know where you're headed.
Yeah, and we'll know when it's been a year that we can,
Rates,
I don't want to, I personally don't want to get into increasing people's rates a couple
No.
of times a year.
well, I'm saying it's reviewable quite, at bill setting, we send bills out twice a year, it's review, the board, one of the responsibilities of the board is to review it. Now, it doesn't say raise them, it says review them. And what you're asking us to do, so when you have those meetings, you can review it and make a decision. I agree with that 100%, that's a
I-
good direction.
I don't have any big concerns right now, looking at the report you gave us tonight. I think you're where you should be.
Right. I
What little
think
I
we
know
have enough
about
for
Not-
operations.
There's not a ton left,
Oh, no,
but it's healthy.
yeah, but we also have a lot of unknowns that we have to address.
Correct.
And we know that they're gonna be extremely expensive. So, rather than, I think we need to keep up with, not having an increase for 5 years was ludicrous.
Correct.
So we're starting to make up for it, but we need to do it, on an annual basis and gradually.
Taxes go up 2.5% every year, and we don't have enough money. So what makes us different? So every year, the town raises taxes 2.5%. Why? And they don't have enough money, services are being, so what makes us different that we don't have 2.5%?
Right.
What makes us that we don't have to deal with inflation? I don't get that. It's the sewer department is don't raise rates. Well, taxes go up every year. I'm confused at the approach. I'm really confused. Our collective bargaining goes up annually for us. Across the board, our charges, our costs are rising. So why aren't we raising rates? That's all I want to say. And that's why the town raises taxes. Why don't we not raise taxes 2.5% a year? Let's just get rid of it, because people are paying too much taxes. Well, it doesn't work that way. They're not even with 2.5%, they don't have enough money to do what we need to do. We're the same thing. It doesn't change for us.
Well, and we agree, and with what you're saying, I mean, we agree that we have to go up on
I
an
agree with you.
annual basis.
Yes.
And, however, our predecessors didn't, I mean.
That's right.
You know,
Cutting doesn't work. It's all like, when we got here 8 years ago, we worked on cutting. We cut, and we did. That means we didn't spend, but you see the results.
the
Are we
reason-
running in the
Problems
red?
everywhere.
Are we running in the red?
No.
We're not. We're going to add at least 100,000 to retained earnings this year.
But we also, there's projects that we need to do that we're not addressing.
But-
There's tons. We need a force main to do. That's all
Guy's
I'm
been
saying.
aggressive about,
Once again, if you increase the rates, I will insist that most of the money goes into upgrading the system.
If not all of it. I agree with you. If not all of it.
So
I couldn't
what I'll
agree
do
with you
is give you a schedule
Okay.
over the next
But I mean,
meeting or two.
if we're not running in the red, we really,
I'll show you operations.
Because we cut back.
I'll show you what operations
what you have.
might want to be. So one of the problems
Might want to.
guys told me about is in the past, they haven't done enough planned maintenance. So before his time, and then him getting everything arranged in the last 3 years, I think he's gotten on board and he's pushing it hard, but he needs the people to do planned maintenance. And planned maintenance means less big maintenance, right?
Well, preventive maintenance, that's the
Absolutely.
same thing as planned maintenance.
It is
that's,
preventive maintenance,
It's all
which
the same.
includes cammering, which includes fixing air valves, which
Yeah.
includes changing out grinder blades and fixing pumps. On top of that, we're putting together the big projects. We're gonna borrow for the big projects with probably a 0% SRF loan. Those will have predictable payments. So we've got our operating currently, we've got what we want to have extra for this planned maintenance part that we've been discussing, and then you've got your big projects, which have a lifetime of payments, a 20-year lifetime of payments. So by mapping that out, we should be able to say this would be an appropriate increase for this year.
We're not exactly like the rest of the town in that we can micromanage our budget, it's manageable, you guys can do it. You know where it's headed. The other thing we can do, if we do have to have an increase, we can appropriate percentage-wise where it goes,
Exactly, we know that salaries.
if we have the knowledge,
We know, and
which you can give us.
I think with Guy's assistance, we can use his knowledge and my ability to use Excel and see financial stuff to give you better information about what rates should
And
be.
we know, the givens are, we know that salaries are gonna increase
Yeah, the
2 to 3%
fixed cost,
a
yeah.
year. So we need to, and then we should put everything else toward capital, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I agree with you, Peter, on the capital, but we also have to be realistic and realize that these, people are gonna need pay increases and.
Correct. But I don't want to be in the position, I don't know how you guys feel about it, of simply automatically going up 2.5%
Oh,
per year.
absolutely not.
I want to know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And you can see the increases, and
Exactly.
that'll be documented.
Yeah.
You know,
I also don't want to be in the position where we can't provide the service that
it
we need
has
to
to be.
provide because we don't have
Right.
funds. And I don't want to make the repairs, I don't want to not make repairs because we don't have the funds. I don't want to go down that road. We've been down that road already, it's not pleasant. And I don't want to have a catastrophic failure or any failure because we didn't allocate money to make the repairs. What little we know, the liability is substantial. We know probably 15–20% of our system that's in trouble. There's 80% we have no knowledge, and we have some good ideas because infiltration is running rampant in Onset North Boulevard. Those pipes are clay, they're in groundwater, and they look like snakes. That's a huge amount. So as we go along, I want to be able to have the funding, and that's what we'll do is put the list together, project it, so we can get the proper funding, so we can be, when time comes, we can fix it, because it's
There's
there.
so would you
another,
say 75% of whatever we pay is going to go to relining?
I would suggest to you that that's not a ridiculous number,
Okay.
because we have the issues, they're there. We've really done.
All right. Well, Sandy and I had occasion to go up to A&W Warren's site the other day, and were exposed to two different types of epoxy. The type that Warren uses and the type that his competitors use. Now, if we're going to use Warren all the time, why do we have to go through Beta to do it? Why can't we just hire them, put them on a maintenance contract and say, well, every time we have money, line such and such a pipe?
That's a procurement issue. One of the things to get rid of engineering, and it means that we would have to be educated on oversight. That's not a big deal, we'd be trained. We can have a person, we'd have to get a staff that's on it all the time, but that's not the issue. Procurement is the issue, because to have someone sole sourced for that kind of money and that kind of projects is difficult. They've done it, states have done it. No, it's being done every day, every state's doing it, but it takes petitioning to the AG, to the IG, it takes even congressional, but it can be done. But again, procurement restricts.
Well, I'm just trying to cut out the middleman.
I mean, we can work towards that, but there's still,
Engineers are eating up the money.
there's oversight. So if we choose not to oversight, that's on us.
Exactly, and if
So it's
something
on us.
goes wrong, you know, you.
We eat it.
you have
If
to
something
have
goes wrong,
engineering.
what? The engineers do what?
You still have to have engineering come up with a plan. We're not that sophisticated that we can do something like that.
The pipe's there and it has to be lined. What's an engineer gonna say?
The specs, the weight, you're dealing with contractors. We could just, I'm doing a roof, just have the contractor, tell me what you need, go do it, and we'll say it's good. Who inspects it? You can inspect it, I don't know. So no matter what you do, there's gotta be oversight. Somebody's got a responsibility
The
to make sure.
existing
the specs-
project. They're gonna scope it all before they're finished and you're gonna accept it.
Which one's that? The one, which one?
The Swift Beach project.
Right now, the engineers have all the facts, all the numbers. So before we pay, the engineer's authorized to pay to make sure the work has been done. When they say the work has been done, they certify the work's been done, then we'll cut a check.
Who's gonna accept it, the engineer or you?
The engineer is going to accept it, absolutely. And they
I'm not
present it to the owner.
I'm not gonna.
It's not the owner, because if I accept it, I'm
Right,
responsible.
his stamp, his engineer's stamp, his qualifications bind him to the requirements of the building code
Absolutely.
and/or the
It's-
Commonwealth.
We can't,
Well,
it sounds
it's-
nice,
It's all a
but
liability, it's a whole
it's
different,
realistic. It's, in this world, it's realistic.
Division 17 or something, I don't know.
They also have errors in emissions policies if
They do.
if the engineering was wrong, and of course, we'd have to go after the contractor if the installation was wrong.
So it's, I agree with you, we like to cut everybody out, but there's certain things you just can't. I get what you're saying, but it's just reality of responsibility, liability, and the whole nine yards.
There's nothing more than a pimp for the different lining companies.
Well,
You can say that for many, many businesses and professionals.
I totally agree, but that doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it
no,
wrong.
but
I
it's
hear
in
what you're
place
saying, but-
probably in every state in the union, so.
But it costs us money,
Absolutely.
and it's money that could have gone into lining the pipe.
I get it. There's
I'm
a
not
lot-
arguing.
Absolutely, there's a lot of, I can't debate that, but that's, you know what I mean, it's one of those evils, the necessary that we,
If we're sold on this epoxy as opposed to the toxic one, and he's the only one that's got it, I don't see where you need the
well, let
engineer.
me say this to you, there's a company right now that is made an epoxy that is aquatic safe, has not got it certified, they're in the process. There'll be two very shortly, and there's other people saying, we need to jump on this bandwagon. So now all of a sudden you have 3, 4, 5, who makes the decision which one is right? Is that
So
arbitrary?
there are gonna be others out there that have the
Right
non-toxic
now,
one?
right now, there's a company that's actually doing work with the aquatic safe. It isn't certified, and their costs are equal to the Warren product. But they're coming because people realize the industry, it's supply and demand. If you want to stay in a business, especially today, and the bad epoxies, not only are they health issues and environmental issues, they don't have long-term staying ability. So companies are realizing to stay in business, you step up. And right now, and I got this from Warren Products, he's got a competitor that has a product. The only difference is it isn't certified. To certified costs about $800,000. He hasn't spent the money yet. Warren Products has spent that money to be certified. When they spend that money to be certified, they'll be certified.
Yeah.
It's the coming trend. That's industry.
It's only better for the owner buyer.
Absolutely. So that's so,
Now,
There's also a way to allow competition, but to be able to take a higher bid for the non-toxic stuff by putting out requests for proposals and saying that it's preferred that we have, you know, non-toxic and less not preferred. That way, there is bidding competition, so if the non-toxic is twice as much, and we might have to have a discussion about what to do. But if it's 100,000 more, then we can not break the law and take the non-toxic side. So we've been thinking about it and making sure we can stay within state law, which is important to keep the lawyers out of our house, and do what we need
Our
to do.
specs right now are non-toxic, that's our specs.
Yeah, I'm telling
And our
you.
specs have been run through the Attorney General, Inspector General, so we run our
Engineers may
specs.
cost money, but
Lawyers are another
Lawyers
racket,
probably
you
cost
Costs a
know.
whole lot more.
I mean, to try doing something without a lawyer.
I agree, I'd rather I'd rather pay the engineer fee than pay the lawyer.
Yeah,
I
that's another
agree
whole
with,
world
I
in
agree with
itself.
that comment.
Yeah.
There is in our packet a contract policy that seems to be looking for signatures. Can someone tell us what it is and why it's not on the agenda?
I have no idea. Is it for knowledge, or is it something with,
I have a note here for board signature, contract policy.
I don't know.
Beta Group, Inc., amendment for date extension.
Oh, okay. I
got
don't know why it didn't hit the agenda.
How many
This
you got,
was,
Sandy? I got one.
Well,
This is the
it's just the
wrapping up
one.
of the,
It's looking
yeah.
for signatures.
Yeah, we have a copy of it.
What's it for?
We should have a copy.
Yes,
we have
it's
the
in-
contract. I'm not so sure. We'll give you the contract. So the comprehensive wastewater management plan, we went into contract about a year ago, a little over a year ago. The contract has come to expiration. There's revenues left, report left, and so we can't pay anything without the contract extension. So let me get the contract, get it to you next time, and we can, because I don't want to speak about facts I don't know, but I know
we
that the
didn't-
contract
This isn't the
expired.
contract that
This
was,
isn't the contract
it was
here
in our
that you gave
packet.
us?
Well, the contract would be, this is probably asking for an extension. This is just simply, there's a contract that goes back of this. So I'll get you that contract.
Yeah, Sandy wants to know why did they, what the amendment's for, right?
Because we,
Yes.
What are they doing?
because we run out of time.
That's all. What are they
Run
doing?
out of time.
Okay, but it was
no
in
idea.
here for a signature, but it
Yeah.
wasn't on the agenda for a vote and signature.
It should have gone on the vote. It should have gone on, so.
Okay, so it will be for the next
It
meeting.
has to, because if it's got to be on, we know that open meeting laws, if it's not on the agenda, we can't speak of it. So we will wait till the next meeting, get on and we'll
We
speak
can
of it.
speak, but we can't vote.
So it's, I don't want to get
I'll
involved in
put a
something
note in
like
You
here
are
that-
right.
for next meeting.
Right.
So
I
that,
agree
I've
with you.
signed, I've
Yeah.
signed the minutes with the note that name has to be corrected.
And we'll also, I'll get the contract, so you just have backup to where this comes from. It'll be good to know that.
Okay, are we all set then for this evening?
Oh, Donna, please. Your words.
Oh, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ooh, okay.
We
Remember,
will,
without
motion is
violating.
passed. We will see everybody
On,
there you go.
6th of June,
Where?
at
Room whatever.
27?
It's all right, okay. good.
27.
That's all I wanted.
27?
Yeah.
I read it.
And then we come back. Okay.
Thank
just-
you, Colleen. I-